I'm gonna stream it.
Okay.
We'll be covering all sorts of use cases and technologies that are in the RICOH THETA cameras, and we'll be both streaming and racing video.
Can I speak? Test.
Hello,
It's live now.
Hello, this is Jesse Kasman, testing the microphone. Hello, hello, testing, testing. Testing the feed.
We ask them if we can hear the audio.
Laszlo, it looks like you're watching. Can you hear the audio? If I'm speaking at this level.
There's some latency. I think it's working. There's a pretty significant delay. Do you have a timer that you can show?
Yeah.
Like a stopwatch or something? Preferably something with super huge letters. Yeah, I think the audio's working.
Oh yeah, I just turned around to look to see whether she was hooking up her bicycle. It's a little bit of a delay.
So do you want it at this level?
I think so.
It's below eye level, right? Do you see that?
No, it looks like eye level to me.
Like it's a couple inches below eye level, I feel.
Okay.
Wait, try. You can't see.
You might be sitting up high. Okay.
Like wait, can't you? You can see me, right?
I can.
Like,
Yeah,
so you're looking over the camera. I
Yeah.
feel.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Do you think we should make it higher? I think the audio's working. All right, so you're gonna give the intro in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'll do it. Video looks pretty good. Lazo, I can hear you. That's great.
Okay, can you see the stream? Are you looking at the stream?
I am looking at the stream.
Is that what's the latency?
Okay. So it's at about 10 when you showed it. You're showing 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 9 seconds now. It's about 30 seconds latency.
It's about 30 seconds, right?
Yeah. I'm getting. You're just about to hit 1 minute.
Yeah, it's about 30-second latency.
About 30 seconds.
Okay. Let's start it.
Nice.
I guess you can do the introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're joining a 360-degree live stream. We're streaming from Palo Alto. That's Craig over there. In case you're not used to 360 streams, you can use your mouse to move over and look at Craig. This is Jesse here. We help run the Theta 360.guide developer community, and we look into all sorts of technologies based on the Theta 360-degree cameras. We're doing live streaming today. This is wireless, based on wireless live streaming plugin. It's pretty awesome. We're outside our offices. Our offices are up in this building here. The Wi-Fi does connect here, and that's what we're using. But this is an example of not being tethered to a USB cable, and also not even being in the office. The idea today is that we're going to dig through some topics around 360-degree live streaming. We've got questions. We've got some questions that have come in. If you ask questions through the YouTube chat, we'll jump on them as soon as we get them, prioritize them. But otherwise, we're starting to walk through some questions.
Okay. Before we get to the questions, just a
Yep.
couple more points. We're trying YouTube Live. It's one of the main services now that offer 360 live streaming, and we're streaming over a. So right now we're using an internet router. It's not using mobile data, and we are walk around with a tripod, and the battery draw is 0.86 amps from the Z1. So if you have anything under 500 milliamps, probably it's going to continue to draw, but hopefully with if it's 0.68 amps, I'm expecting it to be, hopefully we can stream indefinitely. I have 2 different batteries which I got for Amazon.com. Each one of these is about $10, and I got 2 for $20. Okay. We can get to the questions.
All right, we'll dig into the questions. I'm going to ask you the first question, Craig. Is 8K live streaming possible? And then along with that, isn't there a compression limitation with hardware compression with the H.264, H.265 compression?
8K streaming is not possible with the RICOH THETA cameras, although other cameras that cost a fair bit more, maybe like $3,000 to $4,000 or more, can stream 8K. So there's no actual technical limitation with streaming 8K. I think other problems come into place, right? So the chipset in the camera has to support 8K compression in the hardware, which you can buy these cameras that they do exist. But there's also bandwidth considerations. I think there's different solutions to the bandwidth problems, and I think if you look around, you can probably find some different types of solutions to stream at 8K in 360, although the costs do go up.
Okay, awesome.
You want to ask the next one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what's your view on streaming with spatial audio?
So the Z1 has 4 microphones built in. It can record regular video, spatial audio. My understanding is that it, with live streaming, it's only mono-aural. So I believe that it can't do spatial audio during live streaming. However, Craig, you said you thought it is possible.
Yeah, it is. Stop watching. Like, is he referring to the fact that we're watching the stream coming down, and it's creating some problems with the upload? Do you think that's what he means?
Let's see.
Do you see his comment?
I do. On your end, it may take too much bandwidth or set local playback to low quality, please.
I think he's saying for us to stop watching it.
I think so. We can definitely. I'll kill mine. How about maybe you want to monitor it because it's worth it, but kill mine.
I think he said to set it to like low
playback.
I have my quality set to like the downloads was 360. 360. Maybe I'll set it to 1 for the monitoring, to 144 seconds. Okay. So the upstream here is 4K. We probably have, like, I think 50 megabits a second upstream. The downstream is probably maybe 80 megs a second. Is that what you recall?
Yeah.
But there's some limitations here, even with this the system that we have right now. Okay, so he's saying that the Wi-Fi router may be have a problem. So
right.
I guess I'll stop watching totally.
Okay.
All right. That might improve the. So it's kind of interesting real world example, right? Because where the bandwidth might be 50 to 80 megabits, but maybe the router might be having some problems, especially since we're outside.
Right.
Okay, so back to the spatial audio question. So as far as I know, there's no way to stream spatial audio on YouTube. And other systems, theoretically, it could stream spatial audio. But I can't name a system right now. I think it's technically possible. So I'll ask you this question.
Okay.
Can you create a larger virtual space with many cameras and switch between the cameras, right? So people are looking for these large spaces for sporting events, for music scenes. Can you put multiple cameras up at the same time and then switch between the different cameras?
We mentioned this in a previous live stream, but we know of a company in Japan, Connects. It looks like it's spelled Connect Kiss, where they are doing this exact thing with live events is what they're focusing on. They have 5 360-degree cameras set up on the stage or wherever the performance is taking place. It appears they're doing it through the metaverse, Facebook, and the demos we've seen, they use controllers to jump from camera to camera, so you can be basically up on stage with the performer, in the middle of the band, behind the band, and so there is, in fact, this is being done. So we know that much.
So Laszlo is saying that Facebook was supporting spatial audio, but he's also had the 30-second latency because we're using YouTube Live, right, and not another system here. But maybe you could give us more information on this, Laszlo. My understanding was that you could no longer live stream over Facebook in 360. At least when I checked last time, can you actually stream over Facebook live in 360 video nowadays? You used to be able to. We probably have to wait 30 seconds for him to answer it. So in the meantime, I'll ask you another question. So the demo I saw of Connexus was with stored media, and not with live streaming. Are you saying that they have the capability to live stream 5 cameras, or is that the vision, or what's going on with that?
I think you're correct that the current state of the technology is with recorded video, but their whole idea is to do it live streaming for live events. And I don't know the exact state of their technology, but I know they're confident that they're coming out with this soon.
With live streaming?
With live streaming, with jumping between 5 different 360-degree cameras.
Yeah, so I think when most people do these live streaming events, right, they have the archive of the video.
Yeah.
And then maybe people watch it as the archive, right? So you have both the archive and you have the actual, the live stream, which would be more interactive. Yeah. Okay, so Laszlo just said that as far as he knows, Facebook stopped supporting 360 live streaming. So, kind of dead to us, right?
Right.
He doesn't know why. I don't know why either. He says it was working well. Yeah, but it doesn't work now, so they're dead.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the metaverse, they'll come back alive again.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I have no information as to why they're not supporting live streaming 360. But what an opportunity for private companies.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we'll continue with the audio stuff. I'll ask you the next one. What's involved in using external microphones from the camera, both direct from the camera and with OBS?
Relatively straightforward if you're using a laptop, which we're not using for this live stream. So again, this live stream is done direct from the RICOH THETA Z1. We're using the RICOH THETA Z1 microphones right now. That's on the camera body, and we're untethered, right? So this thing is, we could walk around with this, and maybe we'll walk around later. However, if you do connect if you have a laptop and you're using something like OBS or X-Switch to stream it over to, let's say, YouTube Live 360 or a commercial site, you can use OBS with a different audio source. It's going to pop open in a menu. If people have questions about that, we can give them screenshots of this. And you can select the audio source. So you could theoretically connect a Bluetooth microphone to your laptop. And if you connected, this would be a USB cable, the Z1 or the Theta X or the V with a USB cable to the laptop, then you can select the different audio source from it. Or you could use a camera. But the thing is that the viewer, we have some videos on this too. When you move the audio source, unless that audio source is right next to the camera, they might get disoriented because they'll hear it from a different area. So the best thing would be if you had a spatial audio microphone right below the camera, like in the same vertical axis. Okay, if you want to stream inside the camera, it is possible with the Theta X. They did have in the newest firmware. So it has to be the newest firmware, which I think is 1.30. It does support Bluetooth microphones from within the plugin. So if you just connect the Bluetooth plugin to the camera, it's not going to work. The developer would have to add the support into the plugin, and then you could use a Bluetooth microphone for to stream the audio. Yep. Yeah, again, you have that problem walking around, but maybe it's okay. Maybe you have a solution for that.
But this is new, correct? It was added in 1.3,
yeah,
the firmware.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that it's the latest firmware.
Yeah. So hopefully Laszlo will support the Z1 in a future version of the application.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. But I think other companies might do it too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if people have questions, you can just type into the chat window, and we'll handle the questions that's coming in from chat first. Okay. So YouTube Live, we measured it with the stopwatch. So what we did is we put a stopwatch like this right next to the camera, and then you can see what's in the camera screen versus what's on your own screen, right? So you can just basically subtract the time, and you can see what the latency is, which is about 30 seconds, unfortunately,
right, that
we saw on Facebook in the test. So that's a pretty long latency if, like, we're trying to do interactivity with Laszlo. He's in beautiful Budapest, Hungary, a central point for live streaming technology in the world. And it's kind of difficult to do this Q&A with him because we're not using his system. So the latency is roughly about 30 seconds. Is there more questions? What's the next one?
Okay, what are my options to reduce latency?
Yeah, Laszlo had some talk about faster latency the with RTMP. And Laszlo, unless you stop me, I'm going to start talking about the demo that we did with the technology on flow tours. Also, there is WebRTC. Maybe Laszlo could answer the question about how do you reduce the latency with RTMP? Is there any way to do it with standard RTMP? But if you use a different protocol on a different system, you don't use YouTube Live, you can absolutely get much lower latency. So audience can do under 1 second. I haven't actually tested it, but that's what they say, and I believe it because it is possible. Yeah. They may be using something like WebRTC. So if YouTube Live only supports WebRTC, so RTMP. So if you go outside of that protocol, the restrictions of YouTube, and use another system, you can get sub 1 second latency, maybe considerably less than 1 second latency. I think we saw something like 500-second latency last time I did the test with the flow tour system using a different protocol.
500 milliseconds, right?
Yeah, sorry, 500 milliseconds.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. Also, Yeah, there's other. The one that used to be most popular was WebRTC,
Right.
but you have to use a different system for that.
Right.
So Laszlo, if you want to answer the question about is there any way to reduce the latency with RTMP way in?
Right.
Although we are facing the 30-second latency with Laszlo, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just continue on as we wait for the latency.
Okay. Is this what the Dolby.io system uses? I believe you're asking about WebRTC.
Yeah, so I went to the Dolby.io site. I'm just using Dolby because they're a big name.
Right.
They acquired this company called Millicast that definitely was using WebRTC,
Yeah.
and they had a lot of, I guess, community documentation about how to use the RICOH THETA camera line with the Millicast system with WebRTC. So I believe, I just checked it this morning, it seems to be the same system, so you can get sub 1 second latency for interactive events with the Dolby platform.
Yeah. Okay, SRT, is it possible to stream with SRT?
Yeah, it is possible. So Laszlo gave an answer.
Oh yeah.
What did he say?
He says, RTMP latency 's low. When I tried to live stream with RTMP, it was working the same way as we did with SRT, which is close to WebRTC, but requires superb stable bandwidth.
All right. If connection between camera and server where you stream to RTMP, RTMP work quite bad.
Yeah.
So maybe it might be a matter of the bandwidth requirements for RTMP. Okay, he said that, well, this is, is that Gavin?
Yeah,
Okay,
this is
Gavin
Gavin.
says that Audience uses optimized RTMP server, highly optimized distributed cloud edge architecture to deliver very low latency at low bandwidth. So this is another, it's not YouTube Live. The Audience platform is a kind of professional commercial platform for broadcast. And he's saying that they have implemented optimized RTMP. So it is possible with RTMP, but not through YouTube Live, and we don't know what's going to happen with Facebook. So you have to use a different type of system that is built specifically to overcome some of the limitations of things like YouTube Live. And Gavin is saying that the Audience has very low latency at low bandwidth. So, Gavin, although we're facing some latency with the questions here, is there any way for the audience to test the Audience server? And we've heard such great things about it. We've seen some of the demos that have been archived on the Audience site, but these are, they're archived video, which we can't really tell the latency from the archived video. The quality looks fine. Okay. We're in the middle of another question. What was it? Oh, SRT.
Yeah, SRT.
Yeah, so it is possible to stream SRT, and Laszlo said it himself here, so I guess I'll speak to it, that we did test SRT with the FlowTour server, and we were getting 500 milliseconds. So the quality also was excellent. So I think there's a number of ways, like these great technology companies, Audience obviously has a great solution too,
Yeah.
but there are ways around the limitations of YouTube Live, and I think people should explore it. Maybe there's a way for people to prototype or something with one of these commercial servers. That would be great. Wait, Laszlo came in again. If you're moving around and connection isn't stable enough, SRT will be much, much better. RTMP may work, and in some cases, it may be good enough. I vote for SRT after a test I did lately. I think he's referring to like when we were walking. Maybe I'll try to walk quickly here.
Oh, awesome.
To give a little feel. Do you want to, we could answer the next question. What's the next question?
Okay, next question. Kind of an interesting one. Is it more popular to use humans or robots to manage a live stream?
Well, I guess maybe walking might be appropriate since we're kind of simulating a robot walking, whether you'd pay a human or a robot walking. I don't want to walk too far because it's here. All right, but just to show that we can walk, so this thing can be 100% mobile, it's untethered. The USB cable is just for the power, just to show that we can walk. Okay, what's your opinion about the robot, Jesse?
Well,
you kind of like robots, from what I recall. You're a pro robot man.
So we know of construction companies putting 360-degree cameras and doing prototypes for live streaming from construction sites. I guess I am a pro robot guy. I think that this could have be scaled to a very high level, and presumably do much more work with being much less tired. So yeah, I think there's high potential for it. Yeah, I guess that's my opinion.
You think it's more popular to use robots?
Currently, certainly not. I think right now it's heavily humans. Humans are going to be using the cameras, controlling them just like we walk.
Yeah, so you probably pay a guy like me to like pick this thing up and walk around and say, on the right-hand side, check out this hallway, the whole thing, right? And then the audience can choose what they want to say. Maybe they don't want to look at my face for obvious reasons. So like they're rotating the viewing camera around, right? And maybe they might want to like look at the tree a bit more or something here, right? So
nice.
We could totally, we could walk around a scene and the audience can pick what they want to see within that scene. I think this is the most common way to do it right now. Although robots are certainly cheaper, you do have to pay for the robot initially, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure that the stream on the robot is stable.
Yeah.
Which, it does work, but a lot of the robot work is with still images, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. There's a couple of questions about maybe doing processing on the stream. How can I apply AI processing to the live stream?
Oh wait, Lasso just told me not to walk because I'm not using RTMP to stream to. I'm using RTMP to stream to YouTube, not SRC.
Okay.
SRT. So he said, I guess when you walk with RTMP, maybe there was some problem on the stream.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
This is about processing the live stream. How can I apply AI processing to a live stream?
All right, the most common way to do it is you connect a USB cable to a device such as, the two most common devices are x86 computer running Linux. So this would be like an Intel-based processor, for example, often with an NVIDIA graphics card in it as well too. And they run Tensorflow, or OpenCV, might be even more common, to identify objects within the stream. So that flow there is usually, not always, there's often a USB cable that goes to the robot controller. And that robot controller is either x86 or a NVIDIA Jetson. So the more common one is probably NVIDIA Jetson Xavier, but that thing's, I think the low end one might be $500. There's some shortage on the parts too. So the one I have is NVIDIA Jetson Nano, which at the time I bought it was about $100. But there's some shortage on the parts, so it might be more expensive now. So if you stream it over a USB cable to there, and you can process it on the same controller that you're using for the robot. There's another system for this. So you could even use a Raspberry Pi to just restream it. So the Raspberry Pi, it doesn't adequately have the GPU necessary to actually display the stream on the Raspberry Pi. But if it acts just as a relay, you could connect it either with Wi-Fi from the Raspberry Pi to the camera using I think a RTSP, or or another protocol, and then use the Raspberry had to restream it to another computer that's like, for example, on a boat, and the stream might be underwater and giving some type of virtual experience that way.
Right.
Or like you're streaming something that humans can't go to, like nuclear studies, you're maybe testing for radiation leaks in a nuclear power plant, or it could be some other experience that humans normally can't get to. So you could restream it, just relay, have the computer next to it be a relay, and that computer could be a Raspberry Pi. People have done it. And then on the computer that is receiving it, after the restream, that's where you have TensorFlow or OpenCV.
Got it. Okay, a couple technologies about around doing processing. Can I use TensorFlow?
Yeah, it's pretty popular. You can run TensorFlow within the camera as well too. So the camera is running a version of Android operating system. So you could use a plugin. We have examples of this on the .guide community, and process the stream within the camera itself. Or what's actually more common, I don't know if it's more common, but what we see more of in the .guide forum is the USB cable does go to NVIDIA Jetson or some type of AI-specific board. Yep. I think Google has some too, I think Coral or something, but some type of AI-specific board, and it processes it there on the board. But the camera can run both OpenCV and TensorFlow inside the camera. And there are many examples for this.
Yeah.
If you want to process the stream inside the camera.
Yeah.
With AI.
The next question was about OpenCV.
Yeah.
I think you covered it.
Yeah, there's many examples, both in the camera, on the Jetson, yeah. NVIDIA Jetson, and x86 Linux computers. Those are the most popular ways to do it. I think there's a lot, like you can identify the objects within the 360 stream.
Yeah.
One of the things I should mention is, and you know this too, that if you're doing object recognition, because it's fisheye, you may benefit from the use of a fisheye image database, and these image databases do exist. So because it's equirectangular, this distortion, right in the center of the equirectangular image is fine, right? And you can detect the object if it's right in the center, but on the edge, it's a little bit more difficult. So there's various approaches to solving this. One of the easy ones is to use a fisheye database, image database.
All right, what about vSLAM?
On the live stream, right? So
yeah.
RICOH is running it. There's a plugin, there's a vSLAM service that runs inside the RICOH Theta X.
This is the X, right?
Yeah, but it's on a video file, right? So we have seen it using on a live stream over a USB cable. There are examples in the .guide forum, and I think there's a lot of processing power required to do it while it's live. It's much easier to do it from a video file.
Right.
But people are using it from a live stream. I've never done it. Okay. Well, actually, yeah, I think I have tried it, but that's not with a complex scene.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you want to take the next one, or?
What is the power requirement for long-term streaming?
I think Z1. So basically right now it's pulling 0.86 amps, right? So, or somewhere around 0.8. I don't know if they can see it on this thing, but.
Yeah.
So if you plug it into most USB ports on a computer, it's going to be outputting 500 milliamps. This includes in our test the ports on a Raspberry Pi, Jetson Nano, most Linux, most Windows laptops. So you're going to need to get a port that has battery charging 1.2 capability that can output over 500 milliamps.
Yeah.
If you can get it on the Z1 over, let's say 0.8, basically get something that can output 1 amp.
Yeah.
Over the USB cable, then fine. Most USB ports cannot do this, actually. We've tested 0.9 amps, but basically something that has to be over 0.5 amps.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will drain. You've seen this, right?
Yeah.
Like at the trade shows where like it might last like 8 hours or something.
Yeah, it did
but
last.
It does die eventually.
Eventually.
So it's like kind of like going slower and slower down to zero.
Yeah. It's not recharging. It ends up dispersing slowly, but inevitably you run out of battery charge.
So right now we've been streaming for 30 minutes. The charge has not gone down, right? Because I'm using this type of thing. But when you're at the trade show, about 8 hours, right?
Yeah, it was 8 hours.
That's with the V too, I think.
It was a little while ago, and it was with the V.
Might be less with the Z1.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
We are stopping about 20 minutes.
Yep, we do. What is the meaning of the thermometer warning icon on the OLED on the Z1?
Well, the camera's running hot.
Yeah.
So it does come on.
Yeah.
It's autumn right now, so it's not on right now. Right. We've been streaming for over 30 minutes because we did some testing prior to this over Wi-Fi. It's not on.
Yeah, it's not on.
And it means the camera may shut down, except for thermal shutdown. So this is on most models, right?
Yeah.
But I've been running it when it has the thermometer on for like hours, and it hasn't shut down. So it means that it's hot, and I think the camera is telling you it should shut down. Whether you do shut it down, it's up to you.
Right.
I have not been, and the camera's still running, hopefully. So it means shut down the camera, but I haven't been shutting it down. Maybe I shouldn't have been saying this, but that's what it means. Everyone sees the thermometer, right? Yeah. It's not a secret.
I have seen the thermometer, and it shuts down, sometime thereafter. But
I've let it run for like hours streaming over Wi-Fi with the thermometer on, and it's been fine.
It's
like
great.
Hours. Yeah, it's been fine. It doesn't shut down.
Yeah.
No fan.
Yeah. All right, next one. Can I stabilize the live stream while I'm walking?
Yeah. Is Lazo going to answer this? Wait. Lazo's giving us more information.
He is.
Can you read his answer?
Yeah, so he's saying for long-term streaming, in other words, the topic where does the battery, does it hold? He said the battery is important, but the cable too. The cable should be at least a USB-C 3.0 or higher, 2.0 and lower. Are not able to do this, especially if it's a physically longer cable. It will just stop charging. He says I stabilized the heat there. It took me a month of work, guys, literally.
Is he referring to the thermometer icon? What is this referring to?
I think it might be the thermometer.
Is he saying it stops charging when the thermometer icon is on?
I think he was talking about heat.
When the thermometer icon is on, is he saying the camera stops charging?
I think he might be saying that.
Okay, it's going to take a 30 seconds to get a response from him.
Yeah.
He just said yes.
I just see a yes. Yes,
when
the
icon is on.
Oh, this is interesting.
I didn't know that.
This is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't measure it right. I have a battery meter, but I just didn't measure it. Okay, it does stop charging when the thermometer icon is on.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
When that heat, okay. I didn't know that. Laszlo Varga.
Nice.
Thanks. And also interesting tips about the cables. I personally haven't had problems with the cable, but I just go to Amazon and buy the newest cable.
Right.
And I guess I look for like fast charging support and all that. They're not that expensive. And then if the cable doesn't work, I just throw it out.
Yeah.
Because it's like a couple bucks, right? I just buy them packs. So I think if the cable is not charging, you should throw it out. Okay. He's saying gimbal like DJI. This is related to the stabilization while walking, right?
Yep.
Gimbal like DJI Osmos 4 SE, which can be used also as battery pack. It has USB-A output. So you're saying to walk around,
Yeah.
probably when you're streaming, not with RTMP,
Yep.
maybe with SRT. I guess I'm using a Wi-Fi router, right? Maybe if my mobile phone was providing data during the stream,
Yep.
but I don't have good data coverage here.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you walk around with this gimbal, and the gimbal has a battery in the base of the gimbal.
Yep.
And then you walk around and you can stream it. I think he has some examples of this on .guide as well too.
Yeah.
Okay. Real world experience.
That's
from
pretty
Laszlo.
cool because Laszlo's service, the Flow Tours, is all about being mobile and going through a museum, those kind of things. So I think that's basically interesting.
Yeah, I thought he had something called a world lock, which does some stabilization within the camera itself, but without the gimbal.
Yeah.
But he didn't mention that, so
Yeah.
maybe in 30 seconds he'll tell us about world lock. He goes to stabilize, use gimbal and SRT, so that you walk,
Yep.
I guess, through a museum, for
Yep.
example.
Yep.
Okay. What's the next question?
All right, next question. Can I access the orientation sensor data of the camera while I'm live streaming?
Absolutely do it from the plugin. So if you're using a plugin for the streaming, you can absolutely access the compass, the gyroscope, the orientation of the camera. I guess if it's the Theta X, you can also access the GPS information from there, including, but you can access it. And then it's up to you to utilize that data within your plugin. If you're streaming from a USB cable, there's no easy way to access it. There's no API to get the stream, the data from the stream. The orientation of the camera is not embedded into the stream.
Right, got it. All right, this may be similar. Exposure compensation. Can I adjust exposure compensation during the live stream when I'm moving between light and dark areas?
I think it does it. It does do it on Laszlo's system. I don't actually know whether it does it on YouTube. You can also preset the exposure compensation for the stream.
Preset, right?
Well, no, I think it can change when you walk between light and dark. Wait, he's giving more access on World Lock. You want to read it?
Okay. World lock is one axis stabilization only, not a D-shake.
Okay.
However, I implemented some experimental algorithms to minimize small movements too. I'm planning to implement some movement prediction math also.
All right, so I think with his plugin, it doesn't do the D-shake. It just does some level of stabilization. You need a gimbal if you're going to do it. Well, outside, Shahir is asking about outside in plugin.
Yeah.
You want to answer that one, Jesse?
Be available for the Z1?
Probably not. We don't know, basically.
We don't know.
So the question is, will the outside-in shooting plugin ever be available for the Z1? It's not available right now. I've heard of no plans for it to be available.
Yeah.
You can take the video file from the Z1 and apply it with the desktop software. Since it's using vSLAM, the V is visual, right? So there's nothing special about the video file. You can apply it on the desktop. With the Theta X plugin, what it does, it does that processing internal to the camera, and it displays it on the body of the RICOH THETA X.
Yeah.
But since you can't display it on the Z1, once it does the inside out, there's no way to see it. You have to view it on a desktop anyway.
Yeah. I noticed that Laszlo's questions were coming quicker. He
Okay.
explained it. He switched the playback quality to HD in YouTube, and he said the latency dropped down to maybe 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah. But I think everyone else wants to watch it in 4K,
Yeah.
beautiful 4K.
Shahar, I'm interested. How are you using the plugin, or are you using it? If you've tried it on the V, or if you have any experience with them. Just interested that you brought up that question.
You asked about the Z1, right?
You asked about the Z1.
Yeah.
So, oh, probably on the Z1. Yeah.
Well, his question is, will it ever be available on the Z1?
Yeah. Just wondering if he's used it on a different model. But you're right. Probably the guess is that it has a Z1.
Yeah. So this is the new plugin.
That's my understanding.
All right. Do you want to go on to the next question? It may take him a while to answer.
Can I use H.256 compression for streaming?
265, you mean?
265.
Laszlo is using it.
Right.
I guess it's technically possible because Shahir said he's never tried it yet.
Got
I think it was just a question.
Yeah, got it.
So YouTube does not support H.265, right?
Right.
So you have to use a separate system that does support the H.265, and then you could view it, right?
Yep.
You can upload a H.265 video file to YouTube, but as far as the stream, it only supports H.264.
Okay.
To support the higher compression, you would need a different system. For example, like floaters or maybe audience, although I haven't confirmed whether it supports what kind of compression it's using.
Yep. Next one is about YouTube support for H.265, but I think you touched on it just now.
Yeah, I think Shahir is asking about the Z1, and yeah, it's the video display for this is for the outside in or inside out. Inside out plugin. Anyway, it's the one that does the vSLAM.
Yeah, the vSLAM.
Yeah, and there's no display on the Z1 body itself, right? So you need some way to view the route, and that's why it may not be that beneficial for them to process it inside the camera and produce a file that way.
This guy, right?
Outside in.
Yeah, the outside in.
Laszlo saying he's checking it now, so maybe Shahir, if you go to the dot guide, we might have some additional testing, but only with the X or maybe the code. There's some vSLAM service code available on GitHub that you can get if you want to write your own code to experiment with it. Okay, let's go on. We've got like less than 10 minutes here.
Less than 10 minutes.
Maybe 7 minutes.
All right. Is there a noticeable benefit in using H.265 versus H.264?
Well, kind of interested what Laszlo has to say about H.265 versus H.264. I think if you have relatively low bandwidth, it's going to make a pretty big difference. It might depend. Better compression with H.265. I think that the two cameras on I think a robot.
Yeah, yeah.
It was using VP9 compression, right? But they were putting it onto a separate computer and then using VP9 compression. So there might be additional benefits that I'm not aware of. Okay, Laszlo is saying H.265, less bandwidth needed for same quality. Gavin is saying RTMP standard does not support H.265. Possible to do. Audience can use H.265 over RTMP for uplink, which reduces the bandwidth, reduces the uplink bandwidth needed. A lot of these great companies are using some pretty exotic technology, maybe overcoming some of the, right? So although YouTube is popular and it has some technical limitations, and I encourage people to look at the other systems out there to see what's possible with live streaming today, right?
Yeah.
maybe you know, some of them, they may have a way for the independent developer to check studio to, but you know, YouTube is not the solution. It's just free and widely used.
All right, please have a drink of water. All right, bitrate. You can set the bitrate and also use different frames with things. What bitrate should I use in different streaming conditions?
Well, wish Laszlo were here, or Gavin. I think about, I don't know, 12 megabits a second. It's probably good enough for 4K, or RTMP. Maybe other people. I think if you go above the, there's a little difference in the bit rate. So if you go higher bit rate, obviously you're transmitting more data, right?
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know about over 12. Maybe the servers that you're using for YouTube, I'm using 12.
Okay.
It's probably the best that we can do here with our bandwidth. So,
all right.
Even going, our bandwidth isn't that weak, right? It's like 50 megs upstream, I think.
Yeah.
So, unless, I think in 30 seconds, someone will give me a better answer.
Right. All right, what frame rate should I use? Is there a difference between 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second from an artistic perspective?
Wait, we just have another question here. Let's handle this one first.
Sure.
Affinity Photo Pro for iPad to edit and sit directly on an iPad Pro for more mobile flow.
Shahar, I know from the at least two members that really swear by Affinity Pro for being the best sort of mobile workflow for dealing with 360 images and video.
Well, iPad Pro.
Yep. But you really need to either ask through the forum or check those yourselves. I definitely, there's several people who talk about Affinity and they use it, but maybe the specifics you'd want to double check.
There's also some information on Lightroom, right, on an iPad.
Yeah, right.
So people are using that workflow too.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. So we got a note from Laszlo about 12 megabits a second bit rate for the upstream 264 with RTMP. Should I still be using 12 megabits a second bandwidth, which just is what I'm using right now, I think. Is this the best that we can do? Laszlo's asking a question. Can Infinity 2? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have an
Do
exact
you know?
answer. I don't know.
I guess we could look.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll answer it.
Okay.
Okay. We got to stop pretty soon, right?
All right.
Maybe wait. How about this last question about the difference between 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second?
Okay.
So, okay, the context of this question is that the plugins can obviously switch the frame rates. So you would need to use a plugin and not just a USB cable connected from the camera. So if you're using the USB cable just connected to like a laptop and using OBS or X switch, it's going to be locked at 30 frames per second, either 2K or 4K, right? But you probably want 4K at the better resolution, and then you're still okay. If I cut down the frame rate, is it going to make a difference? So we're using 24 frames per second right now. Probably, I think in a live stream, it doesn't make a difference between the artistic quality. So I think the experience at 24 frames per second, which is what we're using right now, it's probably similar to 30 frames per second, especially with everything else going on with wireless live streaming.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. I think you should use the 24 frames per second. But I guess people can test for themselves. It does appear to make a difference with the stuck frame. He says tennis. Tennis may not be enough. So I guess if you're watching a sports,
Okay.
that's probably what he's saying. That
Okay.
if
Yeah,
it's, I think maybe audience might also do sports too, right?
Right.
Like, if you're using sports, either like flow tours or audience or something like that for sports,
Yeah.
you might want the higher frame rate. Probably for this type of thing where it's like two guys talking,
Right.
two people
Yeah.
talking, it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
But it probably have to tune it for what your specific stream is. If it's
Makes sense.
sports, maybe it's more important.
Yep.
If it's a live event, maybe you make some compromises, you know, because you really want to get the focus on the music.
Yep.
Okay. Probably need to stop. Should we take one more question or should we just stop?
Yeah, maybe we call it.
Okay. How about this? Can I stream in dual fisheye?
Okay.
You can stream in dual fisheye, but obviously going to YouTube, it won't. You know, it's not going to be an equal rectangle. It's not going to stitch it, right? So if you do stream in dual fisheye with a plugin, so it has to be with a plugin. Maybe like, for example, Lasso's plugin, or you can build your own.
Right.
There has to be some way to convert it into another format, either that or maybe you're using it sometimes for AI processing,
Yeah.
and you want the dual fisheye because your data source, like a sensor, is a sphere too,
Right.
and it's less calculation. You could process it that way, but you won't be able to use these things like YouTube or stuff for that. Okay. Well, you want to close it?
Yeah. Just thanks. This is a neat experiment to be streaming in 360. There's lots of information on theta360.guide. It's a developer forum that works with the Theta cameras, and if you have interest or you have expertise, please come join the community. We'd love to get your expertise and your questions. Thanks very much for watching today.